We are so back. The age of sword and sorcery has returned. No, for reals this time. And they are going all out. They want to win. They want to do everything they can do to make this a success. Well, not quite. Everything they are allowed to do without offending the modern audience that was never going to watch it. You know, that important distinction of making sure your product is curtailed in value so you're not indicted by Hollywood's blasphemy laws. Look, we just talked about Red Sonja. For those who do not know, don't feel bad. Nobody knows. But about 2 weeks ago, a Red Sonja film came out, and if you have an image in your mind of what a Red Sonja movie would look like, don't worry. It's nothing like that. A women empowerment, anti-male story where her power comes out of nowhere and is not earned. Her story is absent, and with it her motivations. The men are morons and cannot handle a tiny, untrained women. Plot points happen for no reason. There's zero sex appeal. It is not even campy courting, with the caveat of B-movie bad, but fun. They still do not understand who their audience is. A character being female does not mean her audience is necessarily women, but this is what they think. They see female character and immediately think 2020s feminist generally, also part of some other modern activism that they can force into the story no matter how inappropriate it is, and we end up with unlikable, screaming, unfeminine women whose appearances, actions, personality, and morality are all unappealing or downright repugnant to most men, especially long-term fans of that character. This happens 100 times over in nerd culture to every character until every attractive or heroic character is ruined. Which is exactly what happened. They took Red Sonja, who appeals to most men, turned her into a character that does not appeal to men, and frankly doesn't seem to appeal to women either. Audiences don't show up. It makes $200,000 from global box office, which may make it the worst movie of the year. Even the normal critics who show up to sing praises of the women power and anti-men messaging couldn't stomach this turd. And these are people who subsist on an all-turd diet. Red Sonja should be peak sword and sorcery, one of fantasy's hottest chicks in skimpy outfits, killing lots of bandits and monsters, saying one-liners, and having some fun, maybe even getting in some character development on the side. However, this Red Sonja solves her problems with a lot of modern feminism tropes, and avoiding combat. She beats the giant monster by talking to it. She beats her main foe by talking to him. She convinces an entire room of hardened gladiators to become her slaves by talking to them. Everyone is morally gray, a victim of circumstance. There are no real villains. This does not appeal to men, and it especially does not appeal to a fan of sword and sorcery. Another subversive trash heap intentionally made to fail by an industry that loves to ruin everything you love. And a challenger approaches. Someone decided now is the chance for sword and sorcery with the rebirth of Deathstalker. Deathstalker is a set of 4 movies starting in 1983. Inspired by Conan's success, these are fun, over the top, and not reliant on the smartest, deepest reflection of modern politics. And it won't, or perhaps we should say before we count those unhatched chickens, it should not be an activist-infested messaging platform for why you should have solar panels or have a strong, independent woman lecturing and emasculating the hero because feminism should not be the operative word here because there are some cracks in the facade. If you make a sword and sorcery movie, go all in. That this series is even being looked at all seems to indicate Hollywood has run out of major, well-known franchises, and they are scrambling for a hint of nostalgia. Disney itself made it clear they're looking for a way to appeal to young men right now, after they bought up every franchise that appeals to young men and did all they could to make it clear Disney hates men. Also, put a chick in it, make her lame and gay. Credit to the trailer. We are fair here. The trailer is awesome. So never let it be said we don't give the movie industry positivity and the rare occasion they earn it. It is fun, goofy camp, and old school effects, and they may have understood the audiences at least a little bit here. If we're gonna go just off the trailer, aside from the lack of fan service, which is absolutely a part of the genre, the things it shows are done right. You got dudes screaming his name with their pants still on. You have a macho guy staring down impossible odds without fear. You have foes who seem to be actually evil. Never thought we'd see that again. We have some 80s looking effects and monster outfits, oversized swords, music that fits perfectly, but The posters are a problem, and no, we are not going to have false hopes with zero critical eye, not after being burned to a crisp over and over by the film industry's treatment of fantasy IPs. If something looks off, there's usually a reason for that. Look, this is a series known for gratuitous action, nudity, and sexualization, with dumb, brutish beastmen and monsters, and some content that, let's face it, would be called problematic and toxic masculinity today. The sword and sorcery experience on the opposite end from Conan. Not Arnold Conan, the original Conan, where he is a cunning, intelligent, and highly skilled athlete. This is big, muscle guy killed dumb, ugly guy, and then bang, hot, big booby womans. Unga bunga. And it is a fantastic genre that needs to come back. Maybe that would get men back in bookstores. Or is a story about a ripped dude killing monsters and conquering a hot chick unacceptable in the modern bookstore's hallowed halls that is packed instead with ripped animal men engaging in weird kinks for middle-aged female readers? These posters are exactly what we just described. Every single one of them is what? Massively muscled, bronze dude in a loincloth with big weapons, getting ready to kill evil monsters, and a busty hot chick in a bikini. That is all the posters. They were consistent in what they wanted to give the audience here. There is no denying what you are going to get when you go to watch this movie, and there will be no denying the theater is going to give them exactly that. They are not trying to hide or subvert what you're going to get when you go to see this. All the posters, except for 2025, the brand new one coming soon. Look, you got a strong looking guy on the front, but you had one job here. All you needed to do was put him swinging his sword almost naked next to Sydney Sweeney in a bikini. This is the sort of movie that is so easy to do well, a formula more simple than 2+2. It's also a bigger miracle that they managed to turn Red Sonja into a flop. You got a great tagline. Evil has many names. Adventure has only one. You got this trailer that's actually pretty good. So why did you intentionally botch the poster? Remember to thank Spaceballs 2 for letting you borrow yogurt. And before you start to think up some excuse for this, let me guess. They didn't want to sexualize the women. They didn't want to objectify her. It would have offended a bunch of Karens who never would have watched this to begin with. We cannot make movies like that in 2025. Well, yeah, of course. That's the point. That's the red flag here. These posters were damn consistent. There's no reason to break the streak, so everyone knows why they aren't sticking with the theme, and that's the entire problem. If you cannot even make an authentic sword and sorcery poster for your reboot of an 80s series, why would we assume you made an authentic movie? But surely the movie will still be good, maybe? Maybe it will, but once again we're going into this knowing they are trying to cash in on a style, a genre, a nostalgic title, while changing it for modern sensibilities. Are dedicated to not making it fully authentic because, why? It might piss off Karen in HR. Maybe Collective Shout will sue them for causing real danger to the ladies. Whether this movie is good or at least fun, or it ends up being another boring, annoying slog, this is so easy. This is something they have no reason to fail at. This is like being told by your college professor that 20% of your mark comes from having a title page with your name on it. And you don't have a title page. Sure, you could technically still get an 80 on that project, but when your goal is to get the closest to 100% of your potential as possible, how good do you think the rest of the project's gonna be? How much effort do you think is gonna be put into that when you deliberately left 20 on the table? Deathstalker leaving out key elements is cutting itself at the knees. And if it's not in the poster, it is pretty fair to assume we're not going to get it in the movie. Am I the only one who finds it weird to keep picking up these old franchises only to change fundamental aspects of it? Even if you yourself are not a fan of sword and sorcery, and you don't want to watch a movie with a big guy killing stuff with a sword to save a curvy, naked, shallow chick, wouldn't it make more sense to just not make such a movie to begin with, or to not go and watch it? I'm not going to come out tomorrow and say I'm making a Notebook reboot, but it will have no romance, and the guy will be a balding, middle-aged, overweight man, because women should not be objectifying men. The Titanic 2, but there's no boat. Actually, that would make some sense because, technically in the first movie, the boat didn't make it. Sorry for spoilers. You'll notice that all the major franchises for women are not having the things guys don't like removed, while trying to shove in a bunch of stuff guys enjoy and girls don't. A Twilight reboot is always still gonna be about a 100-year-old perverted man getting an underage girl pregnant because that is what women want, even if guys find that gross and weird. But if you're looking forward to Deathstalker, subscribe, like, and leave a comment below. The trailer looks great, so there is some trepidation that this will be at least a half-decent sword and sorcery movie. But if they don't fully go all in on this movie, far as I can see, the maximum it can reach is half-decent. And I'd much rather have something outstanding, or at least all decent. I just want to see fantasy come back as a genre meant to appeal to men. And for that, I apologize for absolutely nothing.